We're a little lost.
Look at this view.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the garage. Today we're gonna go over 10 tools that are maybe kind of weird. Maybe they're tools you haven't heard of, or maybe they're tools you just wouldn't think to bring on the trail. So I'll take it off with tool number 10. This first one is AAA 200-mile towing. Sometimes you get so broke down that you need a tow truck, and this thing is key. It's totally free. It'll drive you 200 miles home. It should probably be like in the top 5, but since it's not a real tool, and I hate those YouTube lists that are like, oh, make sure you bring common sense, but now here I am doing it. But at least I made it number 10. So now that's out of the way, let's go to the real tools. So, number 9. All right, this bad Larry, a little propane torch. It only works if it's on. This thing is so useful. I can't believe I didn't used to bring this. We use this for, let's say maybe a nut or a bolt is on a little bit too tight. You gotta heat it up to loosen it off. This thing works great for that. If you're welding to cast in the middle of nowhere, you can use this to preheat the cast. Let's say you're just welding something period, and there's like a bunch of schmoo all over it. Like you just burn it off, and then it's good to weld. So you can also burn paint off with this to weld. You can start a campfire. Let's say you're one of the new school overlanders and you're wheeling Wells Fargo's truck. You flip it doing some mad donies on Cleghorn. Boom. Set that thing on fire, say it was stolen. Done. And all of a sudden, you're out of your lease. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to use an OBD2 sensor. This is a really cheap Bosch OBD2 sensor. If you have a vehicle that's 97 and older and you have a check engine light come on, you just give this thing the old plug-in under the dash, and then it'll give you some code like P0420 or P0666 or, you know, whatever it is. So this one's good. It doesn't have an internal library, so it won't tell you what the fault code is. So you do have to be able to look up the fault code itself. So I would suggest dropping a little bit of coin. You can get one with a library built in for like 70 to 100 bucks. I'm just super cheap, so I'll do that. This is another super simple one, which is why I threw it into that one, but you wouldn't believe how many electrical problems I've been able to fix on the trail on other people's stuff, literally just by probing 2 wires. I'm just like, oh, you don't have power here, so obviously it doesn't work. And then you just trace it back to where the fault is, and then it's good. So you can do everything. You can test your battery, you can test amp draw, you can see if a wire is a ground, you can test continuity between wires. It's great. Anytime you have an electrical problem and you don't have one of these, you're kind of screwed. Literally, I bring them everywhere. They're shoved under the seat. I don't even put them in the toolbox so I won't accidentally take them out. Yeah. Next tools.
This next one doesn't seem as obvious. I know what you're thinking, right? You're thinking, this dude's lost his mind. Ratchet straps aren't a tool, but I'm about to show you all the things you can fix with a ratchet strap. Let's say you break an engine mount. Break your seatbelt. That's safety. Break a transmission mount.
Break your limit straps. Hot fashion accessory. Ratchet straps. They're good tools. All right, next tool. All right. I know what you're thinking. This looks like just a bunch of random stuff. And it is. This is a bunch of random stuff. I'm just kidding. This is all leak stoppers. So here's what I got, right? I got some JB Quick. This stuff works fantastic. It sets in 5 minutes. So let's say you pop a hole in your radiator, your transfer case is leaking, whatever. You just mix this up and you give it a little sploosh sploosh and you're good to go. I bring a thing of Fix-A-Flat. Usually doesn't work, but it's worth it to try. This is hose wrap. So this actually goes around a radiator hose. It looks like duct tape, but it isn't. And it'll seal the radiator hose. Even if the hose is like soaking wet, this stuff works phenomenal. I've used it on a bunch of different trucks, and then I always just buy a new roll afterwards. Bring some silicone in case you gotta pull apart a diff or something. Some steel stick that's been opened and probably isn't good anymore. That's good. I'll bring some Flex Seal. Use it for anything. And I once had a gas tank leak, and ever since then I bring some tank weld. It's super sketchy to just have like flammable liquid pouring out of your vehicle while you're in the middle of a super dry forest, while you're trying to like limp it home so you don't die. Stuff that seals things is big. We also bring a spill cleanup kit too, but it didn't quite make the list because this seemed pretty normal thing to bring. So, yep, next tools. All right, this next set of tools seems pretty basic, but it's something that I don't see a lot of people doing. Lithium-ion battery technology has gotten so good, it's pretty much completely replaced air tools. I almost exclusively use the Milwaukee 18-volt system, even when I'm at the shop and I have outlets everywhere. So, when you're in the middle of the trail, you got whatever, 500 foot-pounds of torque right out of this thing that you can take stuff off with. I bring a little mini sawzall with some auto dismantling blades. And of course, I bring an angle grinder. I'll bring a bunch of different attachments for it. This is mainly to use in conjunction with the welder. And then this is the same. I use a stripper, and I'll bring a bunch of step bits for this. Step bits are great because you don't have to bring like 27 different drill bits. They do all different sizes. So it really eliminates the amount of stuff that you need, and it makes it more versatile at the same time. Probably the best out of all this equipment though is this little rover light. This thing is insanely bright and it's totally modular. And look, this isn't flat. Oh, there it is. It's also a magnet. This thing has paid for itself because it was free. They threw it in with some bundle. If I have any advice for you guys about buying this Milwaukee stuff, it's either one, buy it refurbished online. All of these are refurbished. I haven't bought a single new tool, except at Home Depot. When the Milwaukee rep is there, you can convince them to throw a couple extra things in. They'll never pay full price for this stuff. It is crazy expensive. This is bananas. There's no reason to. So yeah. Oh. This next one might seem kind of obvious to some of you too. I bring all the specialty tools that you need to take your truck apart. There's nothing worse than being in the middle of nowhere and needing like a specialty socket or something and not having it. So if you can see, look at the shape of these ridiculous sockets. Do you see all the teeth on them and stuff? You're not finding one of these in the middle of nowhere. I had to buy these online and wait 2 days like a savage. And you can also see I've spray painted them yellow. That way I can just look into my toolbox, open it, and I see real quick, oh look, the yellow sockets are the ones I need to bring on the trail. So these are the specialty sockets that go along with our truck. Another specialty item that I make sure I always bring is this stupid fuel adapter. It's like a 14mm coarse thread to an AN fitting, and there are like 3 of them in the entire country. So I bought 2 of them because I know how my luck goes, and if I have a random part that only exists on our truck, that's what's gonna break. So it's a little bit of cheap insurance, helps out a ton. Application-specific tools are key. If you have a Tundra, you better have a 39mm 12-point socket. I can't tell you why they use those, but they do. Or if you have a Tacoma, you better have a 36mm 6-point socket. Or if you have an older truck that's solid axle, you better have a 54mm 6-point socket. Otherwise you're gonna be in the middle of nowhere and you're gonna have to try and get one, and it's gonna be a whole thing, I guarantee it. It has been before, so now I just bring it. Next tools. This next tool probably should be number 1. Actually, this thing's so important, I'm gonna make it number 3 and number 2. There's a lot of stuff. I remember all this being in here. This is our mobile welder. It's a readywelder unit, and so what it is it's just a spool of flux core MIG wire in here, and it's a spool gun that shoots it out here. You get a ground strap with it. You get a little dingle-dangle Anderson plug, which then connects to this side Anderson plug. And you can use these to clip onto your batteries. You can use a 12 volt, or you can clip your batteries together with this to jump it to 24 volt. And you can pretty much weld 1/4 inch. This thing works great. We have welded transmissions, transfer cases, hubs, drive shafts. Just this past weekend, we welded link mounts back on. I've welded links back together, steering parts. I've welded frames back together. Pretty much, you can do anything. if you don't have a tool, you can use this and the battery tools to build a specialty tool that you need. So if you didn't take my advice and you didn't remember your 36mm socket, you can cut out a bunch of pieces of metal and weld a 36mm socket on the trail. I know because I've done it. With it, I've got these Harbor Freight welding goggles. You might as well not even been wearing them because you can't see out of them at all. I've also got these Amazon glasses, which are fine, but they aren't really quite dark enough for welding. So I do suggest only doing it in short bursts, but you can also just kind of squint and pray with it. And then of course, some Harbor Freight leather gloves. I got a big old thing of tips. So yeah, it's just got like tips and spare parts for everything. The thing with this is that you pretty much need other tools with it though. I would suggest having a brush at least. And of course, the torch helps a ton. I thought I had a brush up here. This is the reason why I don't use Steel-It anymore. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to actually weld through Steel-It with one of these. It does not come out good, and you have to scrape it off anyways, so that's why we just use Rust-Oleum on everything. That's pretty disappointing. And look at how on top of it I am. I have the instructions still. Now it's time for number 1. The single most important tool that you can bring on the trail. A little bit of tire shine, a little bit of protective wipes, and a rag to wipe down your paint. We've all seen those Overlander influencers who are in the middle of nowhere and yet their paint looks pristine and it's so shiny. They're on a big trip and they stop to clean it all up before the photos. So, let's be honest. We're all out there to be seen out there, not to see things out there. If you're gonna go overlanding, you better bring some car care stuff with you. Otherwise you look like an idiot. So that's it, actually. That's our top 10 weird tools to bring on the trail. What's up everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. So our next 2 videos are gonna be, I'm doing one on the mobile welder and then I'm gonna do the other one on my military first aid kit. I was a senior line medic deployed to Iraq, and I have a pretty extensive first aid kit that I bring. It'll just be some like do's and don'ts, pretty basic stuff for everyone. So stick around for those, they should be dropping next week. Thanks. I just hit my hand on the toolbox like really hard. Oh geez.